Well, good morning, everyone. Jed, it's like old times. It's just me and you back together again with Jimmy out of town this week. It's just me and you recording. Good morning. Hey,
Hey,
you
good
look
morning.
very sporty today.
Yeah, no, apologize. I just finished playing tennis and figured I'd just hop straight on. So it's a new look. My wife will probably kill me if she sees this. So like, what are you doing?
I thought it was going to be the new hot fad pickleball that you were playing today.
Yeah, so you're saying that I'm like over 50 and playing pickleball, right? No, that is popular. And to be honest, I want to learn actually. I think it's a cool looking sport, kind of a mix between ping pong and badminton and tennis. So I'd like to try, but no, I'm a tennis player.
Well, it looks like if you look at it, many people were building pickleball courts, all of that stuff. It seems to be something that's popular even with the younger folks.
Oh, it's one of the fastest growing sports. There's a professional league that has a contract with CBS, so you can watch it on TV now. It's legit, and everything I've heard is it's a pretty good workout. So definitely try it. I mean, I wanted to try this summer, just couldn't get into the classes. So maybe by next summer I'll do it.
Yeah. Hey, Jed, everyone should be pretty much all done with all of their football drafts. I know a lot of times you were caught in a little hiccup this week because you were drafting two teams at once, not only on the stake, but two auction drafts at once.
Yeah, I don't recommend that. Unfortunately, we had to redraft our league because one of the keepers, the system glitched and didn't hold all the keepers. So we had to redraft that one, and it ended up being 30 minutes off from another draft. I think you can do two drafts if they're both snake, but these were both auction drafts. And as
Yeah.
you know, there's no pause between picks. Like you're just paying attention
Yeah.
every single pick. So I was not, basically on our team the first go around, I was able to get Cortland Sutton and Michael Pittman. This go around, I ended up just getting Tyreek Hill and paying like through the roof to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think it's as strong because there's really not the second wide receiver. But it's fantasy. You never know. It's just got to play it out.
Well, I was watching because there was a glitch in my wife's system where she actually had Russell Wilson when she wanted Cortland Sutton. So that actually worked out in her favor the next time that we drafted.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good then. That's good. Yeah, I was wondering because I was like, oh, he wasn't available the second time. So anyway, it worked out. I mean, I like Tyreek Hill a lot, but it's a little bit more of a wild card than a Michael Pittman. I feel like Michael Pittman is really pretty surefire thing, whereas Tyreek Hill, you just don't know. It all depends on Tua.
Yeah. Why did you decide to pay so much for Tyreek Hill? Is it because he was probably the only good wide receiver, excellent wide receiver on there that you saw?
Yeah, so because it was a keeper league, right? So we have really tight. Everyone keeps 5 players, so the pool of players you can pick from is very small. As far as wide receivers, to me, the only possible top 10 were Tyreek Hill and Michael Pittman, and of those two, I feel like Tyreek Hill, there is a little bit of a gap between him and Pittman. I think Hill could be top 5. Like you could conceivably argue he could be top 5, whereas Pittman, I feel like probably his ceiling is closer to in the 10 range. So
Yeah.
I felt like it was just a little bit more of a gamble. In hindsight, I probably should have went for Pittman. I ended up paying $90 for Tyreek
Yeah.
Hill, and Pittman went for I think 45. So I probably could have used that money in a lot of other places. But it was fun. I like having Hill, so it's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I'm looking at my wife's team because I monitor a lot of times what she's doing, and we talk a lot about that. For Russell Wilson, I probably would have said that she paid a little too much for Russell Wilson at $30 when you had Dak Prescott or Tom Brady sitting there. So maybe that was too much. But at the same time, she ended up with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase as her keepers, Kamara as her keeper, Etienne as her keeper. She ended up getting Cole Kmet, Gabe Davis, and of course she had Sutton as well too.
Well, and that's why I think her having Russell Wilson is not bad that she overpaid because she's got Cortland Sutton. So I was trying to I love the quarterback wide receiver combos. And so I was trying to find those, but it wasn't easy. So I think in her case, that's perfect. If Denver really takes off, she can really play that a lot.
Yeah. I gotta admit, I spent the most money. I think I spent $70-something on Dameon Pierce just because in Dynasty, he probably is one of your only running backs left. And so I said, forget it. I'm just going to spend this money. It came down to him, or there was another one, but he was probably my best bet in terms of spending the most money on it.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's why Keeper League is so fun and it's interesting because you're really looking long term. And as far as rookie running backs, I agree with you. I think he's probably one of the few guys that
No.
are available that you could actually go out and get. I would say there's a, like we talked about the guy in Kansas City, Pacheco. I think he
Yes.
has some, that he's an interesting one. We got to see how it plays out. And then up in Buffalo, of course, I think with Moss, we got to see how that plays out.
Because in Dynasty, a lot of times you're looking at Clyde Edwards-Helaire, first round draft pick. They will probably give another chance, but now here they are drafting Pachero or Pachenko. And so now they're probably going to give him, if he does really well in limited action, they'll keep increasing it and then elevate him to the number one running back spot next year.
Yeah. And Kansas City is so interesting this year, right? Because given that Tyreek Hill is gone now, I actually think they might do more. There might be more rushing. They might be a little bit more balanced in their offense. And so there could be more opportunities for Clyde Edwards-Helaire or for this Pacheco guy, or Pachero, however you spell his last name. So yeah, we'll see. That's why it'll be interesting, man. We're starting on Thursday and all bets are off. We'll see what happens.
Hey, going with Kansas City, a lot of times, look, there's Kelsey. Everyone's been drafting J.J. Smith. But at the same time, Mecole Hardman has largely been ignored. What do you think of a Mecole Hardman?
Yeah, he's sitting on a lot of waiver wires. Actually, the two guys I feel like he's been sitting on waiver wires, and then who was the other one? There's a number 2 in I'm forgetting. There's another number 2 who you got to watch out for. I'll remember in a second. But I agree that in Kansas City, Juju Smith-Schuster, I think, is definitely the number 1. But I think Kansas City's trying to spread the offense a lot more. They're not trying to. I think they saw that with Hill, the limitations where they were so dependent on Hill. If teams came in and just double team Hill and took him away, then they didn't have as many options. So I think they want to spread a little bit more. So I think that's not a bad play at all.
Yeah. One thing that I was thinking about out of our draft, the one DJ Moore has really been drafted in Carolina, but Robbie Anderson has largely been ignored. Do you think anyone's paying attention to Robbie Anderson, or do you think he's someone that you would monitor to see how well he does?
Yeah, that's interesting. Again, looking at number 2 wide receivers, I think the key there is definitely Baker. Everyone's not sure what Baker we're going to get. I think everyone agrees Baker still has talent, and he's still young enough. He could really pull this off, but we just got to see like how it plays out. And definitely, I think DJ Moore has been very undervalued. So I would not be surprised if he ends up doing pretty well. But that's another interesting number 2 to watch.
Because last year he was terrible. 2 years ago, he did pretty good. Last year, he went through Sam Darnold and a whole bunch of other different quarterbacks as well, too, Kyle Allen. And so a lot of times I'm looking at this year to see what that connection with Baker Mayfield is, because Baker Mayfield does an okay job. And a lot of times with some of the receivers, you were looking at Cleveland receivers. They're not high, but at the same time, he wasn't that terribly bad.
Yeah, no. I believe in Baker, especially week 1. Week 1, remember, they're playing Cleveland. I expect Baker to have one of his best games. And so I think you can definitely bank on him, I think, for week 1. And then we'll see what happens. Although, Cleveland's got a really good defense. I think that's one thing to be, going for them. And they're going to want to come after their former quarterback as well. But yeah, I think we'll have to just see. We'll just have to see how it plays out. Another number 2 I was saying before, the other one I wanted to mention was Jarvis Landry in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Everyone likes, the rookie out there, Olave. Michael Thomas is back. But let's not forget, Landry is a very, very good talent. There was a time when I think he, if I'm not mistaken, 1 year he had the most receptions when he was in Cleveland. And so this guy has really good hands, one of the best, catch radiuses out there. And so I'd like to see, how Landry plays out in New Orleans. Of course, all depends on how Jameis Winston does.
Hey, speaking in terms of number 2, a lot of times I'm talking about, I was just reading a story that said, be prepared for Sammy Watkins to be picked up across the board, because he seems to always do well in week 1. And so for Green Bay this year, a lot of times Lazari's injured. There's a good chance he'll play week 1. There's a good chance he may not play week 1. And then who else do you have? Randall Cobb on your team on the opposite side? Ruble or a Christian Watson? Probably not at the first couple weeks. And so a lot of times, don't be surprised. Sammy Watkins would do well the first couple weeks, then get injured, and he's out for the year again.
Yeah, you're right. I remember he had 2 touchdowns for Kansas City, I think week 1, and then didn't score again for like the rest of the season. Yeah, I think Green Bay is another another really interesting story. I mean, there's a couple teams where we just don't know. If you look at Las Vegas, though, I was just telling you, I was looking at the betting lines this morning. Las Vegas believes in Green Bay. Did you know that they have them ranked in the top 5 for power, for power teams, which just blows me away because who is he going to pass to? That's the whole thing. We all believe in Aaron Rodgers. We believe in Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, but who is he going to pass to? And so you're right. Let's just see who plays. It could be Sammy Watkins this week. We'll have to see.
Yeah. But, and Lazard a lot of times and we've talked about this, I'm not crazy about Lazard. He's had so many different chances. And people say, well, look at Jordy Nelson, all those guys like that. Devontae Adams was now number 1 wide receiver. But Lazard, even when he started, has not done well.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan. I think the guy that I'm looking at is the rookie, Dobbs.
Yeah, Dobbs.
That's the guy that, I'm hoping. But it just depends on – I feel like historically Aaron Rodgers has not like to depend on rookies, but he may have no choice and just have to go with the talent. I mean, the one thing you got to say with Rodgers is he's such a good quarterback that basically if you are open, he will find you. And he's not the kind of quarterback that locks in. He really finds who's open. And so if Dobbs really does have the talent, I think eventually that's going to win out.
Yeah. Mac Jones says Patriots offense has been made progress in the last couple of weeks. Ever since Josh McDaniel left, do you know who their offensive coordinators are?
Well, I know they've been asking Belichick, and he's basically been saying, "Oh, it's a team thing. It's a team thing." So I don't know. I don't know who's running the offense or even the defense there now. Do you?
Yes. Former Lions head coach Matt Patricia and former Giants head coach Joe Judge are helping him run the offense and the defense.
Interesting. That's interesting. I mean, Patricia had a great, reputation before going over to Detroit. So maybe that. I mean, I think New England again. Every year we say this. No, Belichick is so good. You don't know where he's going to go, and that's the problem. Is it's not consistent. He might be throwing the ball one week, running the ball the next week. But I really like Devontae Parker in New England. I was a huge fan of him in Miami. I'd love to see this connection with Mac Jones. But let's see how it plays out.
I'm actually getting very excited about Ramondre Stevenson because a lot of times is, hey, look, he's been sitting there and I've been trying to pick him up or make trade for him because I would not be surprised if he had a breakout season this year. They usually don't like running with one person that like the committees, Damian Harris in the past, James White in the past. But at the same time, I can see Ramondre Stevenson either doing that or he plays the LeGarrette Blount role where he does get the short yardage touchdown role.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think Ramondre Stevenson, even especially in a keeper league, that's a guy to definitely pay attention to. And here's the thing. Belichick, it's not true to say that he only likes committees. He's done that because the talent wasn't there. Remember when he had Corey Dillon back in the day, he rode him like crazy. Yeah. So if the talent is there, he will go and feed them the ball. And so if Stevenson can show that progression, you're right. They might ride him, and that would be a great ticket to have.
Yeah. Cam Akers, I know I'm healthy. Everyone will see on Thursday. And so a lot of times, look, Cam Akers injured all last year. Yep. Let me ask you, I got trade requests. Cam Akers for Travis Etienne. I had Travis Etienne. Would you make that trade?
Oh, that's really tough. Akers when healthy and when, with Henderson back there too, you're just not sure about the number of carries. I personally, beginning of the season, I like ETN just for the upside. I think you got to monitor and see how he does. I think talent-wise, I think he's better, but situation-wise, it's probably better for Akers. So it kind of depends, and that's one of the things I think we should talk about now is. Now that you finished your draft, now you have to think about just winning, right? And so sometimes you draft players for the second half of the season, but now you're really talking about, okay, how do I win in the first half of the season? And there are certain players who are going to be better in the first half than second. So ETN, for example, I think is if you have a really strong team and you can wait, then you want to wait to see how ETN does. If you feel like your team's weaker and you need to win now, then maybe you got to go with the Cam Akers and get him in there.
Yeah. Like, for instance, somebody offered me a trade. They offered me Miles Sanders, who could be decent win now for DeAndre Hopkins. Of course, I'm going to say no. The problem with DeAndre Hopkins is he's suspended, so you can't go on your IR. And you have to trust that he'll probably be back week 7. He probably won't be up to speed until week 8 or week 9.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's totally right. But you're right. No, I would definitely hold on to Hopkins, especially because Sanders, everyone's been down on Sanders because it feels like Philly's going to go heavy in the passing game this year. And so I'll have to see how it plays out. But yeah, I think there's a lot of, you just got to really see. I'll give you one example if you're looking at your waiver wires. Mike Davis on Baltimore, he's sitting on a lot of waiver wires right now. And to me, I mean, if you need a starting running back, he's going to be the guy
Yeah.
with Dobbins out and injured. I mean, he's going to get heavy carries, and even though that offense is maybe a little weaker, it's hard to find that off of the waiver wire. So that's someone to look at.
Yeah. Another person to look at a lot of times that you're looking that might actually do well that has not been picked up, Hayden Hurst over the Cincinnati Bengals. Everyone pays attention to all the wide receivers, and if suddenly you've gone through the draft and T.J. Hawkinson is gone, Mark Andrews is gone on it, take a look over at Hayden Hurst over
Is he the
Cincinnati.
number one?
Yeah, he's the number one.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's a really good idea. I like Cincinnati for a lot. We're hoping with Cincinnati is they will up their passing to when Joe Burrow was a rookie. If you look at the number of pass attempts his rookie year, they actually went down second year, and so we're hoping they return to higher pass volume. If they do, then I think you're right. The tight end could really pay out.
Yeah. Hey, going back to Baltimore, you were talking a little bit about Mike Davis a lot of time. Rashad Bateman is your starting wide receiver. Devin Duvernay.
Yep.
He's been popping up as well too. What do you think of him?
Yeah, again, that's a situation where it's like a number two, and you're like, is this guy, is there going to be enough pass volume, or can he pass up the number one? But again, as we've said with Lamar Jackson, love Lamar Jackson, think he's a great talent. They're not using him in Baltimore as a pure passer, really using him more as that combo running quarterback. So you just don't know how many pass attempts are there, to go around. But Duvernay is definitely, he's been really popular as a pickup.
Going back with Baltimore is again, Jed, the guy I'm secretly looking at these days, Isaiah Likely. As someone no one is paying attention to, he's your second string tight end over the Baltimore Ravens. Everyone talks about how great he is. Even Mark Andrews will say people will realize how special he is. And a lot of times people are saying he has first round talent, but he was drafted this year. And so pay attention to Isaiah Likely. He's on 93% available on Yahoo leagues. Take a look at Isaiah Likely.
Wow, I like that. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Mark Andrews, of course, and basically the tight end position in Baltimore, heavy reps, especially in the red zone. So that's a really interesting one. I hadn't heard of him. That's a good one.
You know what? I was trying to hold it off and keep it secret. But I was sitting there, oh my gosh, might as well share about it because you and I are in a couple leagues. So I realized I've not picked him up. I've watched him. No one's picked him up, but I've been watching him to see how well he does because they said, hey, look, don't be surprised if Isaiah Likely, because Rashad Bateman has not proven that he's a number one receiver, emerges as your number two.
And you know what? Also, the other thing is Baltimore is willing to play two tight ends, which is also unusual. There's not a lot of teams that'll play two tight end sets. Baltimore is one of them. So I really like that. Tommy, one of these days we're going to realize that there's only 10 people watching us every week, and it's basically all the people in our league so that they can beat us.
And they do say Lamar Jackson loves his tight end. Look, Marquise Brown didn't really do well and all that. Look, Steve Smith back in the days didn't always do well, but at the same time, his tight ends usually have done very, very well.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in the red zone. I think that's the key is in the red zone, Baltimore loves to find the tight end. And when you add touchdowns to a tight end's numbers, boy, suddenly they're really valuable.
Yeah. Look, they may not get a lot of yardage, but you're actually better with 5 catches for 30 yards and 2 touchdowns. I would have that all day.
Yeah, exactly. You want those guys with the red zone targets. That's why the tight ends that are big, that's always their advantage. That's why Gronk was so huge. I mean, he has such a wide radius and a tall radius. It's just a perfect tight end touchdown target. Do you think Gronk is coming back this year? What do you think?
I don't think so as well, too. Hey, look, I always thought a couple of years ago, Gronk will come, and then who was that one? Young wide receiver, the white wide receiver come out of New England. Man, it just slipped my mind as well too.
What Walker and no, not just Wes Walker.
Yeah,
it was Wes Walker, the other guy who's now a commentator. Like he's always on the oh gosh, how are we blanking? We're getting too old, Tommy.
You know what? It's one of those things it had in my mind. I was just gonna say I forgot. We'll forget about it. But I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah, no. Oh, God, Julian Edelman. That's it.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. I should totally know that because that's the name of my company too. Hey, I was gonna say, talking about tight ends. George Kittle, I think, is another interesting one. Dominant tight end, but we got to see with Trey Lance in San Francisco, is he going to go to him the same way? You can make the argument that he'll become like a safety blanket for him, and so he should still have the same numbers, but will he have the same rapport that he had with Jimmy G? We gotta wait and see, because that's one, I have two tight ends in one league. I have both George Kittle as well as Darren Waller, and so I'm actually starting both this week. We'll see how it goes.
Very good, very good. Hey, let me take a little break as well too. I'm not sure. I have Kurt Warner here and back right here. Hey, by the way, Jed, did you ever watch the movie American Underdog?
No, I didn't.
Warner
That's the Warner story.
Yes.
I am a Kurt Warner fan, but no, I haven't seen that.
All right. I'm sitting on the plane. It's a 18-hour, 21-hour plane trip, right? So I'm sitting there. I should watch it, but I don't want to watch the beginning. It was just boring. It just was too slow. Fast forward to when he gets onto the Rams and his interaction with the guy who plays Mike Marsh and also his coaches. It was phenomenal. And how he ascended, how he got over, all of that stuff was so wonderful to see.
Oh yeah, I mean his story. I mean the bottom line is it was the injury to Trent Green in front of him, right? Like if not for that injury, Kurt Warner doesn't get the chance. And then, but boy, if you think about it too, when he got his chance, if he hadn't have gone up through at the time, what did they call that, the World Football League or whatever that was, if he hadn't have gone through that period, he wouldn't have been the same player because he was so used to having horrible offensive line, having to get rid of the ball so quick. It just fit that system so perfectly. I mean, Kurt Warner is really, it's an amazing story. My son and I, we visited the Pro Football Hall of Fame a few years ago, and it happened to be the year that Kurt Warner was enshrined. And so we were there, and that was really cool to see.
Yeah. Fun fact, did you know Kurt Warner was a backup quarterback at Green Bay, right? He got cut because he got an infection from a bug bite. You know then what meeting was scheduled for him to try out for a team and got canceled because of that infection?
Is it the Bears?
The Chicago Bears.
Oh, no. Wow, that would have been amazing. I don't know, though. Again, see, that's the thing is the offensive scheme would not have been the same. I mean, he was the thing about Kurt Warner to me is what separated him was quick reads, like being able to read the defense and then make a decision in a split second. I mean, he could do that like no one else. And really the offense with Mike Martz, it was perfectly set up for him. I still remember him against Pittsburgh, that interception when he was with the Cardinals, the interception he threw right before halftime that they ran back for a touchdown. If not for that, Kurt Warner becomes the first guy. I think he would have been the first to win 2 Super Bowls with 2 different teams, right? I think. Yeah. Yes, so I guess Tom Brady's done that now, but at that time I was so sad for him.
Oh yeah. And one of the things I love is the dynamics between Dick Vermeil as well as Mike Martz, as well as Kurt Warner. Mike Martz was so hard on him. He would just bully him, all of that stuff, and just kept telling him he was a failure, all of these things. But 2 things emerged. Isaac Bruce was the guy who kept encouraging him. And he kept telling him, Kurt, you got to go. Hey, we made a mistake here and there. Mike Martz just leveled until one day Kurt Warner stood up to him and just confronted to him. After he left the office, Mike Martz called Dick Vermeil and says, he's ready now.
Oh,
later on, he talked to Kurt Warner. He says, I had to be so hard on you in order to make sure that mentally you were able to deal with every single criticism coming your way because you have all the tools to be a wonderful quarterback. I love that scene. Now, I'm not sure how true it was, but it was great.
Yeah, no. And you know what? That interplay between Mike Martz and Vermeil, you're right. It kind of reminds me of Chicago and the Bears, right? When they had all of that infighting between the coaches. But that's like next level psychology, trying to get over to your quarterback. So that's great.
Yep. Hey, going back to football as well, too. Julio Jones. I'm not sure if anyone's paying attention to him. Lands on the Tampa Bay second string. But with Godwin not sure if he's going to play for week 1, what do you think? Would you start someone like a Julio Jones, give him a chance, or go with Dobbs, a rookie over at Green Bay?
Oh, that's a tough one. Boy, that's a tough one. I actually think so. Tampa Bay is playing Dallas. That's going to be a high scoring game, lots of passing. I like Julio. So I think Julio Jones, that's another great
Yeah.
pickup. And this might be your only chance to get him because the reports are that he's back to what he was 2 years
Yep.
ago.
Yep.
If
Yep.
that is true in terms of his physicality, then man, Tom Brady's going to exploit that. So I would say I'm throwing the dice with Julio.
Yeah. Because you look at Julio, right? Compare that to Dobbs, compare that to Drake London, compare that to Burke over at Tennessee. I go with Julio Jones because a lot of times everyone's going to be covering Mike Evans. Godwin, if he's out there, will be hobbled just a little bit from coming back from that injury. Julio Jones might be it.
I think Godwin might surprise people too. That's another one I'll say. He was going so low in drafts because everyone's worried about him coming back from his ACL. But I don't know. The reports I'm hearing are that he's looking pretty healthy now. So I wouldn't be surprised. You guys, everyone remembers Godwin is an amazing talent, and so we'll see. Let's just see how it plays out. Both of those guys could be. Think about that. If Godwin and Julio Jones are back to normal, my goodness, Tampa Bay is going to walk into the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Going to Indianapolis real fast. Two things is Mo Alley Cox. I think a lot of times he hasn't been doing well, but look, you suddenly have a new quarterback as well too.
Yep.
In terms of that person used to throw to Tony Gonzalez all the time in Atlanta, and so a lot of times Mo Alley Cox. Keep him on your wires. He's on your waiver wires. Keep him on your watch list. He's not someone I would pick up, but someone I'm watching.
Yeah, no, Indianapolis is great. We just got to see how. Hopefully, Matt Ryan is Matt Ryan. There's no drop off. Michael Pittman ascends as the number one. And then, if that's true, there's going to be plenty of leftovers for either the tight end or the number two, or even a Nyheim Hines, the backup to Jonathan Taylor. I'm hearing there was a report that they actually ran him out of the slot. So they had him as the slot wide receiver. If that is true, Nyheim Hines could actually be a decent pickup.
And they just signed Philip Lindsay yesterday.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, because Philip Lindsay coming out of Denver, now he was terrible over at Houston, but in Denver, he was seen undrafted, and he did really, really well, and it was supposed to be their starting running back.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. I wonder what that means for Hines. I didn't see that. When you see a pickup at that position, you always got to be careful. Anyway, these are all these things that, we've said this before. I'll say this again. The first 2 weeks of the NFL, everyone is working things out. So don't make too many harsh decisions based on the first 2 weeks. By week 3, you start to see the trends. But in the first 2 weeks, things are crazy. In the first week, especially, there'll be a team that wins that they had no business winning.
And if you have a budget on your waiver wire, don't blow all your budget on someone like a Sammy Watkins because he had one great week. We've seen so many people who did really well 1 week. Everyone's taking up their waiver spot only for him to fizzle out in week 2 or 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hey, one last one. Mitch Trubisky has officially been named. According to Ben Roethlisberger, he thinks that the Pittsburgh Steelers made a great decision by naming Trubisky as their number one quarterback. What do you think?
Yeah, hard to, with Big Ben, I don't know if I trust that guy. I could see him pumping up Mitch Trubisky just to make himself look better because he knows that Trubisky's not going to be good. And so then they're all going to miss Big Ben. I could see him doing that. You know what? I was in one league too that Trubisky got drafted. So there is some people who believe in him. I'm not one of them. Having seen Trubisky in Chicago, I mean, I think he'll have a good game or two. Like, I think he can, he might come out and play well the first couple games. I just don't see that consistency long term. I would say if you've got him as your number 2 and you're going to roll the dice every once in a while, I think that's fine. But if he's your number 1 starter every week to week, I would not want to be in that position.
Yeah. But at the same time, hey, I wouldn't even be surprised because if they use him to the best of his ability for his running and rollout versus in Chicago where they try to fit him in the system, you suddenly have Chase Claypool, you suddenly have Deontay Johnson, you suddenly have George Pickens, all of those things. And Pat Freiermuth would be very good. And there in the backfield, Najee Harris.
Yeah, I mean, they have the pieces around them. That is for sure. I just, we'll have to see. I mean, you might be right. If they can play to him, I mean, he definitely had the arm strength. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. Hey, I was looking at this news the other day that came in through my Facebook feed. Raiders first round picks from 2019 to 2021. 2021, Alex Leatherwood, cut, now signed by the Bears. Henry Ruggs, 2020, jail. 2020, Damon Arnett, cut, arrested later. 2019, Cleveland Farrell, fifth-year decline. 2019, Josh Jacobs, fifth-year decline. 2019, Jonathan Abram, fifth-year decline. Man, how bad were the Raiders? Considering it's Mike Mayock and John Gruden, who were always on ESPN and NFL's draft show all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I've heard Gruden is trying to get back in. He wants to get another position. No, that was, I saw when you posted that. That was pretty funny. Yeah, I definitely. You just got. I think that's the problem with the Bears too. If you can't draft well, your teams are just not going to do well. You have to be able. You can't just depend on free agents. And so, but man, Las Vegas is really interesting this year. That's another team. If things work out with Devontae Adams and he's able to pull the defenses the way we think he can, you're going to see Darren Waller start to really dominate as well because defenses can't double cover him. Suddenly that opens up the running lane. Boy, that makes Las Vegas look pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, hey, as we wrap up here as well, too, any final thoughts as we head into week one? I know we're going to talk about Friday and talk specifically about some games.
Yeah, no, just good luck. I hope everyone's excited. I'm so excited for this season. It feels like there's a lot of interesting storylines and kind of a little bit of the changing of the guard. You feel like, some of the better quarterbacks and things is kind of the ascension of the young quarterbacks and some new teams out there. So really excited for the season.
Yep. Hey, one thing I did want to talk with you before we wrap up, side note, aside from football as well, too, if you get a chance, Jed, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. There's an article at the Wall Street Journal called Starbucks is rethinking almost everything, including how to make frappuccinos. Their caramel macchiato is the most popular selling thing. They have a test lab called the Trier, in which the Trier is a simulation of a coffee shop in which they're always testing how fast does it make for you to make a caramel macchiato or other coffees as well, too. So they simulate you running over from coffee to get ice, to get a cup, to then mix it, all that stuff, and time it because they want efficiency. So they're always looking at what's the combination. Do we create a machine that makes ice and cups or dispenses cups at the same time? I love how Starbucks thinks. They're the best, but they're always trying to get better because they're thinking, okay, we're going to burn our employees out because if they have to, it takes 3 minutes to do all these different things. And if you do 50 cups of coffee a day, you're going to burn out. So how do we make it more efficient, faster, everything where people could rest a little bit and it builds up over time? I love that because I bet you a lot of places don't think about that, but it shows excellence in a company.
Yeah. And I would just say, that's kind of you to say Starbucks is doing it for the benefit of the employee. And I hope that is true. But I would say that most of these places, what they're looking through is put through, right? They want to look at how many cars can get through that lane, how many customers can get through, and they want to maximize efficiency. But I agree with you. The best companies, and Starbucks is one of them. They are constantly innovating in places you don't expect. Like people don't expect to be cutting down the time when they're thinking about, how long it takes to make one of those. But that's Starbucks needs that kind of PR. If you look at a lot of their PR lately, has not been very strong. So that's a good move for them.
And with that said, I am not blind to the fact that when people say they think about employees' retainment, because it is hard to retrain another employee. In the article, it says it takes about 6 months for people to learn all the different combinations. So if you end up losing an employee, if they don't enjoy their job, you're going to have to retrain someone else. And that's another 6 months. And that means more mess up, more cost, all of those different things. So you want to create, hey, maybe let's create a little machine that makes it faster for us to feel the employees to feel like we're doing something different as well, too.
Yeah. For those of you out there, if anyone's looking for work and stuff, one of the things to ask about is the average tenure, of each employee, because you're exactly right. The companies that know it costs me more to get a new employee than to retain an employee, you see longer averages of their tenure, which is a good sign for the work environment. So I totally agree with that.
And one thing I think a lot of times, and here we are talking about leadership as well, too, is, Jed, I do admire those leadership where you can't sit still. you're always trying to look at ways to improve, because what may have worked yesterday may not necessarily work today. And so you're always asking, you're always trying different things, you're always experimenting to really be able to work at peak form.
Yeah, and that's hard. The bottom line is when you've been making money off of doing the same thing for so many years, it's very hard to change that and to take a chance on something else. But I agree with you. The best companies, that's what they do.
Like, for instance, you work in the area of data as well too. Is the whole world is run by technology, but you have many nonprofits, especially the big one, who have always made their money through radio ads and mailers. They will never change because they made so money. And you're sitting there, wait, why don't you just move to technology? Why don't you do social media? Because we don't know that. We don't, but we've always, in today's day, maybe we've dropped off 30%, but we're still making money from some of those things. But eventually, slowly, they have to make those adjustments.
Oh yeah, you got to just look at companies like a Xerox, right? Or like a Sears, companies that just dominated and had so much market share, but now the technology is gone. I mean, in my world, I'm in data market research. The fact that cookies are going to be banned, very shortly. Once that happens, it just decimates, all these industries that were so dependent on cookies. And so it's another example where you got to move with the times.
Interesting. Cookies are going to be banned. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
more and more to watch California, especially, they're kind of at the
Yeah.
forefront. Well, really even Europe too. But the US is one of the most lax when it comes to privacy protections in the data
Yeah.
world. And so once that happens, it's just going to destroy a ton of companies that need that to get that ad revenue.
For those who are watching, when we say cookies, it's not cookies that you eat, but cookies.
Yes, that's right. Cookies that a site leaves so that they know when you come to their site, they know who you are. That's the bottom line, is they want to track you. And now, especially with Apple and the iPhones, you've seen how you can block that.
Yeah.
That's going to destroy a lot of companies.
And last thing, a lot of times I would say this: you look at Toys R Us, they're reopening and they're actually operating in Macy's stores. What do you think of a Toys R Us?
Yeah. I miss Toys R Us. I was so excited for that. Like, one of my favorite memories for my little kids was when my parents, they walked them into a Toys R Us, and my dad, I remember the first time he said to my oldest son, he said, "You can buy anything you want in the store." And his eyes just blew out of his head. And I was like, I want to do that with my grandkids, but there's no Toys R Us. So I hope that they make it.
Yeah, all you're relegated to is a Walmart, Target toy section.
Not the same.
Yes, it's not the same. Like a Toys R Us where you walk around, there's toys everywhere.
Yeah, or like a FAO Schwartz. Like, there's very few of those. I don't even know if those are still around, but like that would be the only thing that's maybe close.
Yeah. Hey, well, Jed, thank you very much. I know you have to get changed and get back to work, and we'll talk on Friday.
Yeah, it's good seeing you. Good luck, everyone.